Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome this evening to some more Formula 4 action here from Premier Sim Gaming Leagues, or as PSGL, as you may know it. And of course, if you didn't tune in last week, we were not here, me and Noah. Noah is not here tonight. He has had a lot of troubles with personal life to deal with, which is hence why he's not been here the last few weeks, but that's no worries whatsoever. But I am back in the comms box here tonight. I'm on my own, so it's going to be a bit of a drag of an evening. I got to be honest, and I've just finished my dinner, so not much time to prepare, as I was expecting a message, but oh well, it doesn't matter. We're at Baku. Title is wrapped up for the drivers. TTG Noof, as he's now known. It was Vapor Noof the last time I was in the combox here. But hey, esports changes even in the Pro-Am scene. So TTG Noof, and he is by far a very quick driver, and has proven over the last couple of rounds he is a winner. So interesting to see then, possibly. As let me just get off Max Rowe the heck, as that must have been really annoying. We're here at Baku. There's not much really to play for in the drivers. In the constructors, we've still got the chance of Alfa Romeo dethroning Williams. However, they basically have to ace it to do so and make sure Williams don't score 10 points or more. And with the form that TTG Noof is in at the moment, it's going to be quite an unlikely thing to happen. As we've got VR Shender. Please say I've said that correctly. I believe this is the first time we have seen him. Unless I am wrong, I haven't seen him before. He was racing in Japan though. And it says he's left the league for some reason after one race, but he is here, so obviously I think the graphic has got it wrong, but he didn't score any points, of course, DNFing last time out. But the Ferrari driver looking to maybe start his PSGL career off a little bit better than the first round. As we'll just see him onto the straight now, the Ferrari driver in that illustrious wet red car, which this weekend probably, for many people here watching real life F1 around the street circuit, very unfortunate not to take the victory, but on board with a lap with VR Shender. He comes down to turn 1, a very, very big lock up there out of turn 1 and then through turn 2 as well. This is one of those tracks that where you start off the line, it's not a very long run down to turn 1, but the run down to turn 1 from the previous corner, which would be technically the braking corner, turn 16. But that is very, very long. Through turn 3 now we go. The city streets of Baku, turn 4. And then the Sector 1 split. Is this Sector 1 look good? It's looking decent so far for Shender so far. Considering I haven't seen him before, it's a good introduction through the tricky turns to turn 5, 6, and now through to 7. Quite tricky through here. Be careful not to invalidate on that inside. Also don't hit the barrier. And then obviously one of the tightest, if not the tightest corner in F1. Very narrow, should I say. Not tightest, but more narrow than tight. But yeah, it just proved it there. Shender in the wall. Didn't do what Charles Leclerc did in 2019 though. So he got away with that one. But he will most certainly have to go again. Ginger though, he is coming towards the line now, so the Alfa Romeo driver has not had the season perhaps he would have wanted, but I guess it's a good season so far for him as he comes across the line, goes 5th place. TRT Tom is the quickest early doors, as we just have to try and find someone else, and here is the perfect person to find. He is on a really good lap time right now. It is TTG Noof in his Williams, the world champion in Formula 4. As he comes towards the line, it's just a straight line now. It's just have you got the straight line speed to really beat or match the drivers ahead of you? No, he does not. Shapalele there with a very good time, a 1:37.0, looking untouchable so far. Is Devon going to close that though? Is the question. Yeah, he's closed the gap between first and second. Not considerably enough to suggest that he's going to be fighting with Shapalele at the moment, who won the first round here, remember, in F4, and then since then it's been a bit of a disaster of a season, let's say, to put it kindly, towards the Alfa Romeo driver. So everyone has pretty much completed their first laps now, and it is Shafalele who is on top early doors. Back to Bahrain at the start of the season was where he was that sort of driver, but whether he can prove that today, who knows. Is Yannick behind? He is. Oh, great. These two pop up on the screen quite often, don't they? So we'll stick on board with the AlphaTauri, who is ahead of the Yannick. I had to seriously ask these guys, like, how do you pronounce your names? Because they sound so similar, but I believe this is via Yannick, which hopefully I'm correct. Is, oh my goodness, he's kept that on the wall. That was quite impressive, to be fair. Good rallying skills, but you know, you don't really need the rallying skills or ability to race F1 cars. Not entirely, anyway. Maybe in the wets it could come in a little bit useful, but that's his lap over for Yannick, or at least it won't be a top lap anyway. Just shows that these drivers will push to the limits. As Yannick, he's coming through turn 17, turn 18. There's, I think it's, sorry, turn 19 and turn 18 and turn 19, and then a slight dink which is turn 20. But let's be honest, are they really corners? They're just straights pretty much. But Yannick comes to the line. That's P8 for him. 7 tenths of Shapalele. So it is relatively close around a track that is very difficult to drive, let's be completely honest, and not many people have driven this circuit. I wouldn't be surprised now the title is over. A bunch of people have probably just come in today hoping for the best, not really doing much practice or much preparation with setups, etc. They probably just come in and said, alright, let's just have a bit of fun. Now the Drivers' Championship is over. Maybe a little bit different for the Alfa Romeo drivers, would be possibly looking for a little bit more, since of course they are still technically in the constructors fight, although there is no drivers fight available for these guys to now win. I'm sure they would appreciate at least one trophy. There is Bugatti, I think, forgot to turn a little bit there to the right. I think he's just bashed the wall. I don't think there's any damage to his car or anything. It looks like a positive lap though for Bugatti. He will have no delta that we can see, but it's a 13.7. We've seen the drivers in the mid-13s through sector 2. And sector 3 obviously is just flat out. No real corners to navigate pace-wise. You just have to really depend on how your setup is feeling in terms of the drag, obviously, of the car, and how fast you're going to go on the straights. As Bugatti comes to the line now, and there's a 37.8 there for the AlphaTauri driver. And AlphaTauri, another team that possibly has underachieved this season, to be honest. They have had a race winner this season in Bugatti. I don't think Sia though has won a race, and I think Sia hasn't really been here the last few rounds, but they've been there, haven't they, AlphaTauri? But possibly you could argue, you know, the two drivers there, particularly Sia, could have scored a bit more points there. But obviously there was the potential of a really good result, I believe, for Bugatti in Bahrain short, but a slight problem kind of cost him. But I say that Bugatti is second in the championship, which I've just seen that now. I knew Vapor Newford won. I thought it would have been Isaac Kush though in second place, and apparently it's not. I think my point for Bugatti is that he did win that race, but he's not had a podium since then, which I think alludes to my point. And I think it's just round to the general rest of the grid. We had this, well, I've had this previously in Formula 3 the past 2 seasons, where we've had a dominant champion, which the first season, I'm just trying to think who the first season one was now. I believe it was Kalsper, who was the first season. Then it was M Short in the second season for F3. And with both of them, to be honest with you, they dominated, yes, but drivers could have really capitalised more on results, and they didn't, which led to the gaps being much bigger. And I think that's kind of starting to happen here in F4, but no need to bother about it, as Tom R is coming through the final few corners and coming towards the line. And the Red Bull hasn't had any sort of great standout performances so far in PSGL. Well, he's trying to make a statement here, isn't he then? Really, put it on pole position. First man into the 136s as well, which is quite impressive. 136s would be a very good time. A low 136 is what the time you'd expect to see in F1. Is Chapelele the guy to perhaps put the nail down? And, well, he returns to the top. So Tom R's lead didn't last too long. And Chapelele, a 36.8. Very impressive time. That's going to be quite difficult to beat, I reckon. What about TTG Noof? A driver 3 temps up right now. And sector 3, you cannot really make too much time up, unfortunately. So don't expect much more of an improvement. You know, you're more likely to get a loss in these last few corners. But as he comes to the line, a 37.1, so he roughly stayed the same through sector 3, which is obviously unexpected. But TTG Noof up to 4th place in the champion. It's not the qualifying that gets you the points, it's the race that gets you the points. And I think that's one thing he's going to mention, as Devon there trying to push the limits and almost into the barrier. But again, escapes it nicely though, does the McLaren. But unfortunately it was not exactly the greatest of laps in the end, considering it. IFR Milan, a driver who's not been too shabby. Well, he's not been too great at all, has he? But he does seem like he had potential to score points, but he's just been getting DNFs a lot, unfortunately. And as he invalidates his lap, that's not what he would have wanted to see. That is his lap over. Janiek then, he comes through the castle section now. Through sector 2 comes the AlphaTauri, quite strong is Janiek. He had a good first appearance in PSGL in France. I think he was on for some decent points and had a decent start to his PSGL season. And he's also wrapped up a podium, of course, as well in Canada. So Janiek, obviously a driver that looks to be towards the more of the front of the field than the back. And Janiek coming towards the line now. A few more corners, well, no more corners to go, but a few more meters to go now for Janiek as he comes towards the line. Has he put it upwards? He definitely has. 5th place. That's very strong there from Janiek, because I believe everyone's now coming into the pits, which is a shame, because we're going to be waiting for a little while. Whether this driver is at Kush will do the same, since obviously they would want that final run. And with this being a street circuit, track evolution is quite important around these tracks. So the last lap, or the last driver out, technically speaking, should be better. But is that Kush is going to continue on this lap, you know? So we're going to ride on board with him as he comes down towards turn 1, and nicely into that corner. And on the exit as well, very nice indeed. Through turn 2, braking in between the 100 and 50 metre board, around 75 to 80 metres. The distance there, another long straight though, as they run down to turn 3, 100 metre board braking. Quite strong, a little lock up on that front left. Sometimes that is just a spectator issue. I'm going to actually hide the UI. No one else is going to complete a lap, except from Isaac Kush here, so we will just continue to hold on board with him for now. And we'll just hide that for now. I think that is the best thing to hide for now. As he comes through. Oh, that's a slide there out the exit of that corner. And coming through turn 8, 9, 10, 11 as well. And 12 obviously to finish it off. As he comes out the exit, he's got a nice straight there. But I think he'll be rather frustrated with that slight wheel spin from the rear end there. His back end did go out of line a little bit. And now through turn 15 and coming up to turn 16, about 80 meters again. the braking point there, and now onto the long straight. There is no more braking for Isaac Kush. All it is now praying for the best lap time he possibly can get, and it does look like a decent lap. Obviously, despite the slight hiccup, and well, you know what, he's actually heading into the pits. So after all that, ladies and gentlemen, that was not exactly what we expected, was it? In the end, and for Isaac Kush, oh, there's a Ferrari. He's going to come into the pits, and oof, that's going to be quite a close time to get out, isn't it? This lap isn't particularly short. I reckon he will have to deal with a bit of traffic as well, as you may have to scoot out the way. But Ginger right now is on a lap, and the Alfa Romeo at the moment, the team right now will not be scoring enough points to save their title hopes. Dotamo and Noof, all they need is 10 points. Right now they would have 8. And really, obviously, that means that basically this team, Alfa Romeo, they do have to ace this round if that was the case. Or ace this round position-wise and not the fastest lap. Or a first and third will do with fastest lap at the moment if Vapor Noof was in... Oh, sorry, TTG Noof was in 4th place and Dotamo was in 11th. But obviously at that point, for the final round, they would need to get a 1-2 fastest lap and had to do all the hard work. So basically, Ginger needs to ace this lap. And I haven't seen the telemetry because I'm a bit stupid there. I didn't notice on the right hand side when I should have. But he comes to the line anyway. Let's see if he does plant his car much higher up. Oh, with P7, he'll be slightly happy with that, I reckon. But yeah, there we go. And Chapelele, we're going to go on board with this guy. He's looking to go up on his time, and already he's up by the slightest of amounts. Is the Alfa Romeo driver as he comes through now towards Castle section. It's very tricky. This is 50-meter board and through there. Very nice indeed. Close to the barrier. He's one of the few drivers I've seen pretty much ace that corner, that couple of corners. A lot of them quite tentative on the throttle, of course, and I think a lot of drivers do get a little bit anxious when they start to go through there. But Chapelele, no, he's completely fine. Now he's coming through towards the Sector 2 split. Is he up? Yes, he is. He's up by about half a tenth. So this is going to be good for Chapelele. If he could just get the right Sector 3, this could be pretty much all over for qualifying. He could dominate this. He could put it into the .7s perhaps, which would be an incredible result, really. Let's be real. But FRL Chapelele, he's coming towards the line now. It's pretty much a straight line. It's not that much of an improvement considering it, but it's an improvement. He's got provisional pole. As TRT Tom has now got to go through, he will be the closest competitor. And oh my goodness, that Ferrari, that's Schender, who has gone into, well, I don't know what's happened to him there. Has he hit the wall in the castle section on the exit? I don't know, but TRT Tom, he is going to be the next one to complete his lap, and we'll see through Sector 2 how far is he up. Oh, this is going to be very close, ladies and gentlemen. He is up by the thinnest of margins, really. We talk about close. We've not seen TTG Noof really up there entirely, and now look at him. 8 thousandths of Chapelele. He hasn't snatched pole from him, but does Tom R get pole position here in Azerbaijan? I don't think anyone else could get it, but has Tom got it? He has. As a brilliant Sector 3 as well. He's 2 tenths up in the end and has absolutely smashed Chapelele. It looked close when the Sector 2 split came about. He must have got a really good exit heading on to Sector 3 as Yannick goes up to 5th place and closes the gap to the front runners. But that is the end of qualifying, and I'm sure that Chapelele will be rather annoyed he didn't get pole position. Tom R will be jubilant, over the moon, his first pole position in PSGL. And of course, TTG Noof, the new champion, of course, 3 wins in a row so far. Can he make it 4 wins in a row? And of course, possibly a 5th victory in PSGL this season. Anyway, TRT Tomar, he is on pole position there, beating Chapelele by just over half a tenth. In second place, TTG Noof, I've got to keep doing that. In third place, Rowan fourth, Yaniek fifth, Milan in sixth, Devon in seventh, Shenda in eighth, Datamo in ninth, and Ginger rounds out the top 10. And quickly pause if you want to see outside the top 10, because I kind of cost myself time by talking about Vapor Noof when I didn't need to. But it does not matter at the moment. We will get ready for a pretty entertaining race, and who knows, could we see some spits of rain? No, we do not. It's clear skies out there. It's very nice indeed in Baku in Azerbaijan, and it does look like we will have a really good race in prospect. The champion versus the new kid on the block, perhaps you may want to say about Tomar, and of course the returning to the top of the front of the grid in Chapelele, who did actually get P2 last weekend in Japan, so he's definitely on good form, is Chapelele, but he would most certainly love to take another victory away for the season. Obviously looking to get his wraps on F1 2020, because of course this is the final season we will have of PSGL on PlayStation, not on PlayStation 4, on F1 2020, of course. Well, technically speaking, yes, it is technically the last game primarily from PS4, because I reckon a lot of people will be moving over to the PS5 next game. But obviously you can still play this if you are on the PS4 and obviously play with PS5 users. Otherwise, it would have been a bit of a disappointment for CRG Gamer, as he wouldn't be able to participate in Formula 1, for example, in PSGL. But it doesn't seem to matter about that. This is F4, not F1. F1's on in about half an hour's time, so you'll have to wait for that at the moment. But I think I just wanted to make my point clear about that. But Tom, he will go into this rather optimistic, but he mustn't get too carried away with it, really, because Baku can be a very unpredictable track. We have noticed this in real life, but also in the game. In PSGL, we've not had Baku. This is the first time we are having Baku on F1 2020 in PSGL. So those drivers who have just raced in PSGL and no other league before, or who may have raced in other leagues but never raced Baku before this game, it might be a first time experience in terms of the racing. Qualifying is a little bit more easier, since you do expect the drivers to try and ace their qualifying laps, but racing against people, there can be people who know how to be more creative than others on this track, since obviously they've got knowledge and others do not. And we've not seen much of Tom R this season. He's only raced 3 races this season, I believe. 4 races. This is his, well, 3 races, but this is his 4th. So he's got potential to win, it looks like, from his qualifying, but he does have a rampant Chapelele behind him, and TTG Noof as well. 2 very quick drivers, race winners this season in PSGL. And if that's IFR Rowan on the wheel, I want to say big ups to his progression. But looking at his movements, it looks like he's back on the controller a little bit. However, I'm not going to confirm that, because I'm not entirely sure. But either way, Rowan is obviously one of the quicker guys in this division, so watch out for him as well. And of course, VER Yaniek, who's only had 1 podium in PSGL, but has looked like he could be a fairly decent driver indeed. So we'll have to wait and see. And we'll have to wait quite a while as the grid does wrap up. And everyone saying, go Noof, go Tom. We're in for an interesting race. I reckon we will have a few different people looking very anxious right now to get underway. We just wait for the lights to come on. And there they are, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 5 red lights. And we are underway for this Azerbaijan Grand Prix as the standings have already broke down. Shapalili has got a very good start and he is into the lead of this race. Brilliant start from that inside line. I think Rowan's got a good start as well. He's up to 3rd place as well. Rowan has jumped Noof. It looks like that inside line then was much stronger than that outside when it comes to things. Now Rowan may have a look on Tom here. Tom goes defensive. Rowan goes quite down the inside, and there we go. Nice easy move from Rowan. He's into 2nd place, and what a start for Shapalili and Rowan, both making up positions and are now 1 and 2. Noof down to 4th place. Tom down 2 positions to 3rd. It's a disaster of a start for the Red Bull. He would not want to hear that, but both the drivers who people were cheering on, that was Raiko and I'm not going to say your name, I'm sorry, I'm going to just call you Five Gum, who wanted Noof to get a good start. They've both been the drivers to drop positions so far, but Shapalili has cleared away at the moment, 1 second away from Rowan. Rowan has got probably an angry or frustrated TRT Tom behind him with TTG Noof as well, probably quite frustrated indeed as well. Yellow flags though towards the back. I wonder if someone's gone into the wall. It is, and it's VER Shender who unfortunately he is probably not going to score points again today. Where is he? Has he got damage? It looks like he's got quite a bit. Yes, he does on that left-hand side. So the Ferrari is in for a very long race indeed. Someone who's in for a long race, but for a different reason, possibly with battling, is Tomar and Rowan. Tomar back to 2nd place. He's not into 1st. Shapalili's in 1st right now. Shender's actually retired. He's not even retired in the pit lane, I don't think. He's actually retired on the track, so understeered, own mistake, it looks like. Obviously, we don't want to play any cards that may suggest anything different than that, but it hasn't caused a safety car. That's the good thing, because if it did, I reckon there would be a few bones to potentially pick to notice how serious his retirement on track may have been. However, back to the action then. Shapalili still quite far clear. Showing blue flags, for example. Burit Bedev has now left the session, so a lot of people now leaving the session, possibly just down to their internets not being good this evening, which does happen for some drivers. And Shender also leaves the session. That's for a different reason though, because he retired. Interestingly, Datamo pitted, and he's pitted onto mediums as well. Wonder if he was the one that got caught up with Shender and may have obviously picked himself up damage as well as what Shender did. So interested to see what happened there for Shender. Unfortunately, we don't have replay cameras, so I can't exactly look back for it for everyone, but I would love to have them if I'm honest. But the grid starting to stretch out a little bit now, which is interesting indeed for now. And Rowan just about able to keep within the DRS of Tom. Tom's got the quickest lap as well. I was expecting Shapalili to get that, but no. Tom seems to have closed the gap a little bit, but Rowan, he's sticking there at the moment. Is Rowan, as Janiek comes in to the pits, and he's going to fall down the field. I think he will beat Datamo out as he comes out of the pits. And yep, he has beaten Datamo, I think. Actually, this could be fairly close, actually. Datamo, it's not that far away from him. But Janiek has come out ahead. But IFR Rowan, at the moment, he's just about hanging on in DRS there. So, gaps beginning to build already at the circuit. And this is what I said earlier. Although the qualifying is close around this track, how is the racecraft? Because some drivers have experienced this in the race conditions, others have not, and a lot of drivers tend to prioritise that qualifying phase, looking for the perfect lap that they can get in possible, and sometimes sacrificing the race potential. And that seems to be the case at the moment for some drivers, as the gaps continue to open up. But looking further towards the front, there is a driver that is showing a lot. That is not the front, that's just because the game is basically full of glitches, full of moments that we don't like to see. Here is someone who has caught up to the back of Chapelele, is TRT Tom. He has actually got through quite quickly to the German driver in front of him, and he's continuing to close, of course, with the DRS. Could we look at a potential move into turn 3 for the Red Bull? Just looking far quicker than the Alfa Romeo. A slight slide at the exit may have cost him the opportunity. I don't think he'll really bother too much, because of course he's got that long straight where he will make up, or is guaranteed to make up, a ton of time on Chapelele. But these two have tended to check out now away from IFR Rowan, who has probably got TTG Noof behind him, looking ready to potentially pounce very soon. But other than that, things for now are a little bit quiet. They're not too loud, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. Noof has actually closed up quite a bit to Rowan, so I wonder if Rowan really is now starting to struggle a little bit. But Chapelele is keeping his own out in front here, I would say, at the moment. But Tom, he is chasing, and he is looking to potentially win his first race in PSGL. And Chapelele, he will not have the DRS. Tom will. I don't think he'll catch him though at this point. This man, almost certainly, is going to catch Rowan. Here he is, right on the back of him already, side by side into the corner. Nothing I don't think Rowan can do. Yeah, Rowan knows it. Vapor Noof, TTG Noof, up to third place. I'm so used to saying that now, I'm probably going to keep saying that. Tom, well, as expected, didn't get past Chapelele, but obviously has held quite neatly to the back of the Alfa Romeo, and you know what, he's got a bit closer there. He won't want to be seeing the gearbox though for too long of that Alfa Romeo, because he knows that he can get a victory today, and he's just got to get past this guy. I think TTG Noof, please excuse me for this, I've got to keep saying this. He's been set free really. Now he's got past Rowan. He's seriously closed up to these front two. Quite impressive indeed from the Williams driver. And TLT Tom, he's just scouting at the moment for Chapelele. He's not looking for a move or anything. He's not rushing. He's just sitting behind at the moment, just checking out, waiting for a particular mistake like that on Chapelele. A slight twitch of the rear may have cost him first place. And here comes Tom now onto the straight. 5/10 to catch. This is going to be rather close, but Chapelele, I think, has been using a little bit of ERS to gain a bit of time. But here we come then. Chapelele already making his move nice and early. That is because he's coming into the pits. So obviously early pit stops, no surprise right there. I think a few drivers will be looking to perform overcuts and undercuts, and because we've had a lack of experience in this game, I actually don't exactly know what's going to happen here, whether we are going to see so many undercuts. Chapelele, he is the first. He does come onto hard, so he isn't trying a two-stop like IFR Milan is, and I think Tatamo and Janiek also is trying that two-stop, although I think Janiek probably already has made two stops because he is so far behind there. Yep, he has. That's no surprise, so I wonder if something's happened to him. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But Tom, he is leading the way right now. Oh, Vapor Noof. Has Noof there just hit the wall or something? He looks a little bit dazzled out the exit of that corner. This may open the door a bit for Rowan to come back in. Someone, I think, is spamming the chat. They're not. It's Logan. Glad to see I'm back. I didn't really check out the stream, if I'm honest, last week, because I've had a very busy week indeed. This week I've had a lot of things to consider, and it's kind of just tripped my mind If I'm honest, I do apologise for that, Logan, but I'm sure you did fine. I didn't hear any sort of bad things from any sort of drivers or anything, so I suggest you did a good job. And so I wouldn't worry too much. But as everyone now coming into the pits, now we're going to see, how is Chapelele going to look? Is he going to look quite clear of these drivers, in fact? He looks quite far ahead, doesn't he, as he comes down the straight? Oh my! He is absolutely clear. The undercut has worked an absolute treat, it looks like, for Chapelele. Where is... Oh, okay, Tom is there, so Chapelele is still in the same position, really. I thought he would have come out a bit later because there's so many cars sandwiched in the pits. It didn't look like much, but I think he has gained a slight gap. It's worked well for Tom. I think Noof has potentially been held up in the pits or something. He has fell back quite a bit, but he did have that slight mistake through Castle, which may have been the reason why he's a little further behind. But for now, you're in for an interesting race. So Noof just looking to close in a little bit, it looks like. And he's just chilling right now, is TTG Noof. Falling behind a little bit, but he's not rushing to get anywhere. What about FRL Ginger at the moment? Isaac Kush, as he had a little incident. It looks like it would have been a bit of a big incident. Actually thinking about it, there he is. He's on that left-hand side. I think he's just come onto the track, but what's happened to him? He's got damage, so I wonder if he's hit. I wonder if he's rid the curb wrong, and he's accidentally headed it into the wall. Could be a possibility. This was the guy who I was looking to focus on. Is Ginger now going to try to close in on Devon? And he's going to try potentially move there. Oh, as he hit the wall, he's escaped that. I think has Ginger Isaac Kush actually out of this race because he did retire in the pit lane. Didn't really think he'll be getting a good result now. Then must be that case. Devon actually pitted 2 laps before, so Devon a little bit earlier than a few of the others. Sasakir is in between Chapelele and Tom. And Tom's going to be quite frustrated here, because I wouldn't suspect Sasakir will let him go easily. If Sasakir is in Chapelele's DRS, which at the moment is not looking likely, then Tom could be in trouble. Because he could be stuck behind Sasakir for a little longer. But fortunately, it does look like Chapelele is clear. However, Tom, yeah, Chapelele is clear, but for Tom, I think that's more frustrating. He's got a penalty now to deal with. So not only does he have to catch up to Chapelele, if he wants to win this race at the moment, he has to be completely clear of the German driver. He has to get past Sasakir first. He's still not by. He's pretty much there by the DRS, so he will close in almightily on Chapelele. Whether he will be back in the DRS again with Chapelele or not, I don't know. Chapelele just cruising at the moment in the lead of this race, and that's Rowan who's out. Has Rowan done the same thing? Has he picked up wing damage? He most certainly has. And where has he picked up that then? Because I don't think he was really battling with Noof too much. So that's a bit bizarre from Rowan. But he picked up damage, and well, he's out now. So not exactly what you'd want to see. And for Rowan, he's probably very frustrated. He's already retired. But well, we could be in for an interesting evening. A lot of guys now pitted, done their first pit stop, and Tom has already done that as well. And he is still looking to close in on Chapelele. He's not quite doing it. TTG Noof needs to get past Sasakir to close in. But he should get that this lap. Yes, of course, Sasakir does somehow defend Noof. I think Noof, though, he would prefer to get past as quick as possible. Here we go then. DRS in 3, 2, 1. There we go. And look at the boost he's got on the straight now. Sasakir, well, he's not even going to go defensive, is he? He knows he's basically a sitting duck on that straight. And there goes TTG Noof across the line and up to 5th place now. And Tom is continuously closing in on Chapelele. We still haven't seen a move between Tom and Chapelele, really. Chapelele did get by, of course, before the first corner. He got a mega start compared to Tom on that inside line. Suggesting to me that inside line was quite good to have. Well, of course, you had the advantage because you are on that inside, but also it looks like it must have been a grip advantage for Chapelele. But I don't think Chapelele would want to battle too much. The reason he got out of a battle last time was just because he went into the pits, so he will have to battle here, annoyingly for himself. He will be quite frustrated with that. And Tom, right now, Tom looks like he's got the pace to be a threat in this race still, despite the penalty. Chapelele cannot deal with them. He cannot have those silly mistakes now, and that may have cost him the race lead again. He has been struggling, has Chapelele at that corner. It's already happened once where he made a mistake. It was his in-lap for the pits, and now it looks like he's going to get overtaken. He's actually using overtake to try and defend, but I don't think it's going to be really a problem, is it, for Thomas? A little squeeze from Chapelele, and oh no, oh no, oh dear. And Chapelele, a driver who's just had no luck whatsoever, has now been put in the wall there by Tom. I don't know. Again, this is where a replay camera would be so nice to have, because we would be able to analyse that a little bit more properly. But Thomas, I don't know, has he just moved over there a bit too early, a bit too soon on Chapelele and punted him out of the race? Or has Chapelele just squeezed Tom too much to where he's just been clipped? Oh, that's an interesting one. We'll have to most certainly look back at that. I can technically replay it for myself. I don't, and obviously you guys can as well. I'm just gonna have a look at it again as we do wait for more action. As Tom looks to the outside here. Chapelele, he looked quite comfortable on that inside. Does Chapelele squeeze Tom though? Oh, he sticks into that inside. Oh, I do not know, but it looks like Tom, he's just moved over slightly to the right, and it's completely took Chapelele by surprise. Yeah, it looks like Tom has moved over to the right there. I'm not going to confirm whose fault that was, because that's a tricky one really to decide. But it does look like, unfortunately, that is going to be Tom's fault, and I'm sure he will get a big penalty potentially in the stewards if Chapelele chooses to report it, because it does look like from the replay that I have, he moves the tiniest bit to the right there, and obviously for Chapelele being so close, just doesn't acknowledge him, and of course that means that's ruined Chapelele's race. That's ruined Chapelele's race. He's out of the race. I think that is rather unfortunate for Chapelele. A race that had quite a lot of potential, and well, it's been completely ruined now, and he is not happy. In the Discord, I don't think anyone. I was about to say no. It's just Shafalele. Very unhappy. It looks like with TRT Tom. So I reckon Tom is in for a big slap on the wrist, potentially. And in my opinion, it did look like there was a slight movement to the right, which basically took Shafalele out. I think that might be Janiek. Yeah, it is. I wonder who's hit the inside and it's put him off his line a little bit, but a bit of a disaster, isn't it, for Janiek? Interesting point. Bugatti leads this race. I don't think the undercut, not the undercut, I don't think the alternate strategy is too great here. But Bugatti could potentially make it work. As Shafalele leaves the session. But really, we'll have to wait and see. But VR Devon in the McLaren. Just 2/10 off Milan. And just trying to close back in. I believe these two had a bit of a swap of position around 2 laps ago. So it looks like Devon's trying to come back at Milan. So these two in a bit of a battle at the moment. And it is a medium tyre versus hard tyres. So one's going to have an advantage over the other for now, but I don't know when the medium tyres will drop off here. I'm just hopeful there aren't any storms about, to be honest. Otherwise my internet could just completely die on me. It does look like things are pretty clear though now. There was expected storms around 7-8 PM time in my local area, which is why I did have to try and take caution. But Devon, at the moment, he's dropped back a bit from Milan now, and I don't think he'll be overtaken on this lap. He's used a bit of overtake to suggest he's going to try and look for a move later on, but I don't think he's ever going to catch that gap of 8/10. He's going to close it though, as the DRS does open, and it will close more. Again, not enough to look for a move. He has closed it considerably though, so expect Devon to potentially close in enough to look for a move here, potentially. It's not really a corner you do overtake. People like to wait for the real long straight. Obviously with the slipstream and the DRS. Kind of just use this as a breather of the track. But IFR Milan, he is chilling in 6th place right now. Devon 7th place, and Devon, he's just going to be enjoying himself for now, just sitting here. And despite this, there's not much action to really look at, which is a shame, to be honest. We need that action. We're not going to get it at the moment. But for now, Devon's just going to sit behind. Is he going to attack this lap? He's using the overtake, so he's definitely looking to close in. Has he got enough, though, in that McLaren to look for a move on the racing point? That is the real big question. Slipstream. And now the DRS should I say. But Milan pits anyway. Expecting that. He's pitting. And he should pit on to new medium tyres to go towards the end of this race. Sasakir, he's done the same. And he's probably going to make something work here, isn't he, Sasakir? I reckon he's going to try something on these medium tyres, but it does look like he's not going to catch up to these 4 guys ahead. For Devon, we could be looking at an unlikely podium for him. If you look at position changes, there's 2 places up for Devon, 8 places up for Sasakir. So he is definitely someone who's had a good race, hasn't he? Sasakir, perhaps just kept out of trouble a little bit, but he's up a lot of places, is the Haas driver. I think a lot of drivers, such as the 2 Yannick and Yaniek, they have not had the races they want. I think Janik actually made a pit stop again, or something, because he is quite clear behind. Well, it doesn't suggest that. It suggests he's been on those tyres since lap 1. He hasn't stopped, so I don't know why he's clear at the back. Actually, hold on. I think I may have a reason why. Yeah, that was expected. Of course. But yeah, here comes Tunetank then. He's actually quite close to Milan, isn't he? I didn't realise how close he would be to Milan when Milan came out. So we will possibly have a move here, but he's just sitting behind, isn't he, Tunetank? That does really confirm now, though. I can say that this Williams, they are constructors champions now, because Chapelele is out of this race. It doesn't look like Ginger would have done much if it was down to that, suggesting his position right now. But anything can happen in Formula 1, as they say. But constructors is now done and dusted, as Tunetank sends it down the inside. Milan, and there we go, 7th place now for Tunetank. Will Milan look to potentially fight back soon, though, I wonder? He will just be sitting waiting to strike again. Will the racing point, perhaps? And, oh, we have a safety car, ladies and gentlemen. What is that for? I think that is for Burak Bedev, who has, by the looks of things, just absolutely sent it into the wall, like full speed. I don't think that's allowed here, so perhaps if someone asks for footage, I'm particularly looking at someone like Tom R, or Nooth, or even Devon, perhaps, because, well, particularly, the soft tyres will not be the greatest at the end, and the medium tyre driver leading is now Bugatti, and the only driver on the soft tyres in the end is actually Max Rowe. So everyone else is coming for mediums, and they will be absolutely fuming with Tom R and TTG Nooth, because they've come out, they've lost their lead, Max Rowe is on softs, and Bugatti is on the same tyres as them. And Bugatti's pace, considering where he was in terms of like 11th, his pace has not been that bad. The grid has been quite close in qualifying, and I think it is the same case today. So Bugatti technically now is in a good position to win this race potentially. And this would be a bit of a jinx on myself, wouldn't it? Because I said earlier that Bugatti, he's had a decent season, but he could have probably done more. Well, he's doing more at the moment. He's now 9 laps away potentially from being on the top step of the podium. But we will have to wait and see. But Bugatti will lead the way now. Something a bit different, isn't it? I haven't seen Bugatti really in this race, and he's pitted at exactly the right time. He'll probably thank his lucky stars for Burak Bedev. The fact that he's now leading, because that was at the right place at the right time, I have to say, for Bugatti. Max Rowe is an interesting one as well, actually. We've not seen much of Bugatti, but we've not seen much of Max Rowe. So Max Rowe is in fact in a fairly good position, I have to say. And well, we could be on for an interesting ending to this race. Let's look at penalties so far. So only 3 drivers picking up penalties. This is going to be their disaster, really, for Dotamo, Tomar, and Max Rowe. But for Bugatti, not only has he got 2 cars behind him, which he could actually not bother about letting pass potentially on like the final few laps. But the driver really in question now, as his particular rival he'll be focusing on, would possibly be TTG Noof, who hasn't picked up a penalty. So Bugatti, at the moment, is in a very interesting position. If he keeps Max Rowe behind, which he could cruise this race, because those soft tyres aren't always the greatest over this amount of laps. You see them obviously in the first stint. They pitted around lap 5, lap 6, which does come to show those soft tyres do not last a very long time. Whether this is a bit of a blunder from Max Rowe in the end, considering that straight as well is absolutely massive, and with DRS, which drivers will be able to get on the final few laps on the better medium tyres at the end potentially. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But Bugatti leading the way then in a very peculiar circumstance. Maybe one circumstance a bit too heavy. Maybe surprising for Bugatti. He knows what it's like to win though in PSGL. Not only race wins, a championship as well. PSGL F2 champion a few seasons back. So he does definitely know how to win. I'll just pick that archive up. I'll see if I can find it for you. And well, yep, Bugatti champion season 25. The final year of F1 2019. He was the champion, beating the successor, Toxic Tomato, which is now Shazoo Tomato, who did win it again as well in F2, but Bugatti won't win a title this season, but he will runner up. It looks like with a good result here, he will look fairly comfortable indeed. But yeah, have to wait and see. Safety car will be in this lap, I reckon. A very strong chance of that. But will we see a Bugatti victory? Will he return to that top step of the podium, which he hasn't been on since Singapore this season? So yep, it's been quite a while, you have to say, since we've seen this AlphaTauri on top, and the only AlphaTauri this season on top. As Max Rowe looks to get a tad bit close, I'd say, to Bugatti, pretty much side by side with the AlphaTauri. So we just wait now to get underway. Everyone anxiously waiting for that restart. Is Bugatti going to take it to the line is the question. He's not in a rush, is he? And there he goes. He's completely caught them by surprise, like you would expect. Tom R, he's under pressure. Is Noof going to go down the inside? Sasakir, he's just ruined his race there. He's tried to go around the outside of TTG Noof, or as probably unexpected. He didn't expect the braking, or something happened there. But unfortunately for him, I think that might be race done. Anyway, it's a good restart though for Bugatti. Bugatti got a very good restart indeed on those medium tyres, and has got quite far away, I have to say, from Max Rowe, Tom R and Nooth as well. As Tom R looks to closing that gap on Max Rowe, maybe looking for a position. As he comes through the castle section now, this is very tricky through here. As everyone, I think, makes it through cleanly, which is nice to see. Everyone obviously single file through there, but Max Rowe at the moment, he is quite close to Bugatti. I do expect him to overtake, and I wonder if Bugatti will defend. This will be an interesting one to follow, because Bugatti doesn't specifically need to worry about Max Rowe at the moment. It looks like he's going to use a bit of overtake to gain some advantage from Max Rowe, but Max Rowe, here he comes. He's used a lot of overtake, I have to say. In fact, pretty much all of it on this lap. And here we go. Well, the overtakes are going to be used. It's aided Bugatti beautifully, hasn't it, on the straight. So Max Rowe really not going to get this move done, is he, on this straight so far? But he's looked to the outside. This is quite dangerous for Max Rowe, but he's just going to have to back out for now. And look how much pace those soft tyres, how much grip those soft tyres have on the braking for now at the moment. Both drivers with the overtake then, one with a slipstream, the other with not. But it looks like Max Rowe is going to have to settle behind a little longer on Bugatti. And the more time he wastes, the less time he has to build that advantage, build that gap on Bugatti. I do probably question Bugatti might actually look to get Max Rowe by quite soon, even before the DRS, so he actually favours from the DRS, because Max Rowe is obviously the quicker driver on the quicker tyre. That won't last forever, but the DRS will aid Bugatti quite well, but obviously leading aids him quite well as well, with no dirty air of course in sight through the corners. So interesting now for Bugatti. It's been a very clear race today. I won't say clear on the track, but the weather has been very strong. But the ERS is all building up again, and Max Rowe, the golden opportunity now, possibly to get the move done now on Bugatti. Does he have DRS? I don't actually know. I didn't notice that, but he's going to the outside, is Max Rowe. This is going to be interesting. Side by side into the first corner then. Bugatti's going to look to defend this as much as possible, and that was bound to happen, wasn't it? That was bound to happen. And for Bugatti, a race win-loss for Max Rowe. It's most certainly a race win-loss. Surely I would have thought Bugatti would do the same as he did in Bahrain, because he could still fish out a good performance. I think obviously it's a frustrating one for both drivers. But Tom R leads the way, Nooth in second, but penalties applied. Nooth will be up to the lead, and Tom will be down to third place. Tatamo will be moving a bit further down as well. Tatamo probably moving down a couple more positions than just that. But really, Nooth will like the opportunity. Has he just clattered the wall there? No, he hasn't. But he will sense an opportunity for Tom. On Tommy Woods. Wood Vapor Nooth. TTG Nooth. As he looks to close in. What a day for Williams as well. can I add, Noof and Datamo on the podium. Today, it could have been a very slight chance. And, well, look at this down the inside. Janiek, what a recovery he's having as well. Janiek is, my goodness, up to 4th place. His race looked done and dusted, didn't it, towards the start. And now he's absolutely flying, is the AlphaTauri. His teammate looking to come back at him. It's not going to get him, though, for now. He will have to settle it in a little bit. I think Max Rowe frustrated with himself. And a VSC. Max Rowe hasn't even retired in the pits. It's poor sportsmanship, ladies and gentlemen. Things like that. Things that drivers don't need to do. Just retire in the pits. Be a sports player. And for Max Rowe, he's not showed that mentality there, unfortunately. And well, some do allude to safety cars, some do not. But when a safety car does appear, it just makes it a bit more bitter. Only a VSC, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but I don't know why Max Rowe's retired. He basically had oh my goodness, Tom's just clattered it into the wall. These drivers getting a little bit impatient now. I don't see the reason why, but Tom's clattered it into the wall, and possibly there is a very slight chance he could lose his podium. Here comes TTG Noof. He doesn't need to pass Tom. Tom's already made his move, so he can't really defend anymore. And there he goes, slight bye. Does Noof, and his teammate is right behind him. So for Tom, he's in a very peculiar picture, isn't he? Now down to 3rd place. We could be on for a Williams 1-2. He's weaving. I don't see the reason why he's weaving. There's no reason for him to weave at a driver, whether it's, you know, obviously a driver's hit him or anything, but no drivers tended to do that. They've just got past calmly, so interested from Tom there. And Janiek, I think Tom was the driver that got in a small altercation with Dylan Warren, which left him embarrassed. But that's not really any sort of point really, but he seems like a bit of an angry fella, does Tom at the moment towards the end of this race, losing his head a little bit. Obviously clattering it into the wall though, under VSC at the exit there. There was no need for him to do that. He wasn't under pressure. Noof probably wouldn't have overtaken immediately. Silly mistakes though, they don't win you races in the end. And Janiek, oh, he's picked up a penalty, hasn't he? So Janiek looking for a potential podium. That may have made it a little bit more difficult for him. A driver that has had a day, which has had some ups and has had some downs, I have to say, for Janiek. And for him, well, in the end, it's going to end on a high, by the looks of things. Now, is Tom going to send it here on Tamo? He's quite far back. And, oh, he's broke way too late there. Tom has had a nightmare of a day, hasn't he? This second half to the race has been disastrous, hasn't it, for Tom? Potentially race winner today. And he's made too many mistakes towards the end of this race already, possibly in controversy with the whole Chapelele incident. Bugatti, I think, is just going to go for fastest lap. He'll be disappointed with 2 points. Well, 1 point initially, but he probably will go for the fastest lap to boost it up to 2, of course. Well, that being the case. But I think, really, it's been quite a good day, hasn't it, for the championship leader, the championship winner, and potentially now, almost there towards the line, the 4 in a row race winner. Noof is slowly becoming quite a dominant driver here in F4. in the end, and I feel like I'm cursed a little bit because every single PSGL league I have commentated over this game has ended up having that dominant victor. And I thought I wouldn't get it here. I thought the curse had kind of been lifted. Well, now it most certainly hasn't. It seems like anyway. But Janiek, third place for him on the final lap. Could he improve it to second? Is the question. I don't think he can. Did Dotamo get 2 penalties though? No, he didn't. We could be looking at a Williams 1-2. This is going to be anxiously close, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Because Dotamo, I think he needs around 5 tenths to secure that podium. And that's on Devon. I wonder if Noof will be a little bit of a helping hand here. Devon won't have that helping hand. I wonder if Noof will be that sole helping hand to get a 1-2 across the line to seal the constructors. It's already been sealed, but to basically prove their dominance, let's just say. And speaking of dominance, I think in the end there's really been only one driver that has proven to this grid that he is looking dangerous for F1 2021. When the new game comes out, I'm sure he'll be looking quite delighted to end this one off on a high. It's TTG Noof as he comes through the final few corners. There's not really much to go now, not really much to play for, except from the fact that Tamo probably won't get that podium he would love. Devon will probably get second place, but TTG Noof, he's won 3 times in a row. It's now 4 times in a row for the Williams driver, and as we suspected, Devon finishing second place. He'll be quite over the moon with that in the end, would VER Devon. Datamo third, Janiek in 4th place. A rather up and down race today for him. That's a very strong performance in the end from Janiek. Ginger up to 5th place. That's a good result for him. Milan 6th, Sasuke 7th, Tom R. What a disaster in the end it is for him. He's coming home with no wing. In fact, it's going to be 9th place. He's actually embarrassingly been beat by an AI here to add to his woes, unfortunately for Tom. And for Bugatti, I think that might be the fastest lap for him. But, well, I think unfortunately it's not been the day at all for Tom, has it? Obviously, the controversy with Chapelele early on. The wing damage when he didn't need to in the virtual safety car. And then braking rather too late, let's just say. And it's caused probably a few rows in there. I'm waiting for Tom's response in the chat. He is online now, so he will definitely see Chapelele rather looking mad. I want to see what his response is to that, if he responds anything. But that could be some sort of fuel on the fire sort of moment for him. But it is TTG Noof. No surprise, really, if we think about the last couple of weeks, who has won this race. The New Zealander, he's capped off his championship pretty much in style. Can he make it 5 in a row is the question next week. Devon on the podium with Datamo and Janiek as well in 4th place. Decent there from all 4 of them. And of course the Williams driver, Williams team, both on the podium, Constructors Champions. Ginger 5th, Milan 6th, Sasuke 7th, Janiek in 8th, Tom R in 9th, and Bugatti finishing just inside the top 10. And clip it if you want to see it. Max Rowe, Burik Bedev, Chapelele, Rowan, Isaac Kush, Bread, and Shader. I forgot his name already, haven't I? Have I said that right? Shender, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, Shender. There we go. I got it in the end, but that is it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And I tell you what, the penultimate round of PSGL, it's almost over, isn't it now, for this season? It's been quite a short season, hasn't it? They are quite short here in PSGL. And we obviously will return one last time next week, which will be, of course, in Brazil. What a way to end the season of And what a way to end the game off, in fact, is Brazil. And obviously we go back to the first season of PSGL on this game, on F1 2020. If we go back to F1, we had our own Isaac Glock moment with Valentin Bruffaut, of course, crashing out, costing Matthias the title in the end. I think in the end, it has been a really strong season, and for TTG Nuth, it's been a superb season, I have to say, and he is the champion. Williams are the Constructors champions. I expect to see a very fun race next week. Nothing more to play for except from Driver's Pride. So with that, we're going to end the stream here, and we're going to be done with this race. It's not been the most entertaining, has it, this race? But TTG Nuth is your winner for today, and it is a Devon Dotamo podium as well, who join alongside him. But join me next week for Brazil, which we should have a bit of a cracker of a race in